My name is Brenda Missen, and I'm the author of Tumblehome, One Woman's Canoeing Journeys in the Divine Near Wilderness. The near wilderness of the subtitle is Algonquin Provincial Park in Ontario, where I have been going on solo canoe trips for nearly 25 years. Tumblehome chronicles the first 8 summers of my solo canoe trips, and it's interspersed with flashback to my interior journey, which over the years got more and more entwined with my sojourns in the natural world. I'm going to read to you from one of those flashbacks from the summer of 2004 when I was on my way back to Ontario from Montana. And it might help to know that on my canoe trips, I was always terrified I was going to meet a bear, a black bear, which is what we have in Ontario. Waterton Lakes National Park was not a planned stop on the drive back to Ontario from Asante's wedding last summer. The sign for it on the highway that leads up from the U.S. border lured me in. It was early evening by the time I got the tent erected and supper into me. I had been in the car all day and needed a good leg-stretching walk. On the advice of the park attendant, I drove to the parking lot for the Blackiston Falls Trail. A large sign was posted at the trailhead. Warning, black bear in area. I had to laugh. In an area known for the much more dangerous grizzly, the posted warning was for my nemesis. Well, if hymns worked in Algonquin, they would darn well work in Waterton Lakes too. No one else was around. I set off down the wide spruce line trail and in my best church choir voice started in on my all-time favorite, How Great Thou Art. At the sound of rushing water, I stopped singing. Up ahead, the falls cascaded into a deep canyon beside the trail. A long flight of wooden steps took me down to a lookout platform. I absorbed the splendor of the falling water and the green forest and the dramatic treeless mountain peaks rising above it all, and just kept singing the oh-so-appropriate lyrics about brook and forest glades and lofty mountain grandeur. I started back up the stairs, glanced up, and stopped short. Not far from the stairs, right on the trail, sat a black, furry figure. It had its back to me and looked to be snacking on berries on bushes beside the path. To my vast relief, it was totally unaware of me. The relief was short-lived. To get back to the car, I was going to have to let my big black nemesis know I was there. I reached the top of the stairs, heart triple knocking in my chest. The bear was about 10 meters along the trail, still engrossed in its snack, still unaware of me. Girding my loins, I clapped and whistled and prayed it would bolt rather than charge. The bear turned its head as if at some distracting sound, gave me a bored glance, and returned to its dinner. Emboldened by its indifference, I clapped again and launched into the hymn's chorus. At all the ruckus, the bear deigned to stand up. It lumbered a little farther along the trail and sat down at a new delectable bush. More adrenaline-enhanced clapping and singing, more reluctant moving forward by the bear, followed by another snack break. I was now singing How Great Thou Art to the bear. The homage failed to impress. The bear moved along only another few meters. At my next adrenaline-enhanced surge of encouragement, it disappeared around a curve in the trail. No, I couldn't lose sight of him. Now I was all but running after the bear, still belting out how great it was. Around the bend, I slammed on the brakes. The bear had sat down yet again, maybe 5 meters up ahead. He must have been on dessert by this time, and it must have been delicious because he cared not a jot for me. Which was both a blessing, considering the not so pleasant alternatives, and a nerve-wracking frustration, considering my continued dilemma. Many times in my life, I have experienced the voice that speaks through me in fraught or painful situations, the voice that knows the right thing to say when my conscious self gets tongue-tied. It was that voice that released the park ranger from his vows in the Smoke Lake Bunkie, and the same one months later that asked him over the phone to release me. That voice called out to the angels to hold on to me as my car sped toward a ditch, and asked 2 large dogs on a Montana road to stay put and not chase me. It's a voice that speaks from some part of me that is much wiser and more knowing, and in most cases, much calmer than my conscious mind. It's a voice that speaks without thinking, not because it's being heedless, but because my conscious mind has no thought or say in what comes out. Nevertheless, what comes out is the right thing. This was the voice that now spoke, without any input or permission from me, to the bear that had plunked itself down yet again on the path before me. Please, I said out loud, could I ask you to get off the path? Just for a few minutes. I don't want to bother you, I just need to get by. A considered moment later, the bear got to its feet and lumbered into the bush. It sat down no more than 3 meters from the trail and seemed to watch me from the gloom. I stared, almost unbelieving. My first thought was, that's not far enough. Then my conscious mind and I registered that the bear had just complied with my request to get off the path. I needed to take advantage of its cooperation and get myself past without delay. Not running, but not dawdling either, I made my way along the vacated path, head swiveled to keep a wary eye on the dark shape of benevolence in the woods. All the while, that same voice, my voice, was calling out in somewhat breathless, heart-palpitating gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.